Hey guys, what's up and welcome to a new Tesla update video. So today, as per usual, let's go over Tesla, let's go over the market, and let's figure out what has happened today with the big day. Of course, the Cybertruck delivery event just ended like 10 minutes ago. So let's discuss everything that there is to discuss and what we can expect moving into essentially December, tomorrow. So with all that being said, if you enjoy the video, don't forget to hit that like button as it does help a lot. This is not financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor. And of course, my membership section on YouTube is live. The link is down below for $3 a month in the description. You can check it out where I share my intraday thoughts on Tesla with updates and whatnot pretty much throughout the day as we're moving and the stock is, doing its thing. And I constantly give updates and my thoughts on what's happening when necessary. So with all that being said, let's dive into it. Tesla on the day closing down about, I believe this is incorrect. Let me just double check to make sure this is the right number because again, this adjusts post market. So closing at pretty much $240 on the day, a little bit down post market it looks like, but closing down $240 on the day, which is going to be down of about 1.7% on the day, which compared to the market is definitely a little bit of an underperformance. But to be fair, it has been just a general rough day in tech. I'm surprised QQQ is only down 0.3% considering like NVIDIA's down 3%, AMD's down over 2%, right? Like Lucid's down 3%, Rivian's down 3%. So there's a lot of things like even like Netflix is down, Google is down almost 2% for, I don't know why it just is, but so a little bit of a rough day in the market for the most part. But Tesla, in my opinion, at least holding okay, honestly, okay. Now, obviously, we had a massive day today with the Cybertruck delivery events, right? Everyone expected it to be a sell the news event. So far, that's not the case. We need to see tomorrow as this kind of news and all this information and the pricing, the range, all that stuff is essentially digested by, Wall Street, the market itself, etc., right? Tomorrow, we'll get a better idea. However, going off strictly what happened today, pretty straightforward. Pretty much exactly what I said, right? We talked about how, a little bit of a weak candle close yesterday, definitely a bearish candle for the most part. And, expect a bleed today, at least most of today, or at least some part of today, right? And then being most of today. We ended up coming down pretty much just to retest this breakdown, right? Breakout rather. We retested the breakout of this bullish pennant that we were in, these two blue lines, right? And the top line, of course, being the important one because that's the retest line essentially for us because that's the line we broke out from so far successfully. So that's looking pretty good, right? It's just kind of textbook. We broke out, we went up, went to the next level of resistance, which was about 250, got rejected, top of the bull flag, makes sense. Got rejected, came back down, retested the breakout, and now it's important to see what happens next. Obviously, there's two things. We go up or we go down, right? But more specifically, there's a few things that I want to see. So in order for the bullish scenario to play out, because so far, remember, it is playing out, like I mentioned, right? It's pretty much playing out exactly so far how I've expected it to. But this is where it starts getting a little more unknown. This is where it's a lot harder to predict because it really just depends on how the market digests all this news and whatnot. As long as we ideally, like the ideal scenario for me is holding this 240 to about 238-ish level, pretty much the exact range of the low today that we traded in. That's the range I want to hold. I want to hold that and I don't want to lose that specific level ideally, because that to me again is essentially just, again, we're holding the 240 level roughly, which is good. Number one, that's just a level that I'd want to turn into a support as we've done, plenty in the past over here or here. This is resistance here, support here, etc. Right? I definitely want to turn that into a support. But the other option or the other thing here really is the fact that I want to make sure that we don't fall back down below this bullish pennant retest. Like I want this. The ideal scenario is for this retest to be a successful retest and we just bounce off of this and continue rallying. That is the ideal scenario. Obviously, it doesn't mean it has to happen or it will happen, but that is what I would like to see happen from the bullish perspective, right? So those are the main things I'm looking at. And moving up from there, obviously, the kind of mediocre, like midterm, if you will, step will be to break back above the 100-day moving average. That's number one, right? Which is sitting somewhere around 245.5 roughly right now. But obviously, the ultimate goal is to break out of this bull flag, right? And again, like I said yesterday, the way these things work, with the way these bull flags or in this, like these bullish patterns or like ascending triangle or whatever it's called, the way they usually work is the more you're tapping on the resistance, in this case, the red line, the more often you tap it, the weaker the defenses of it gets, if that makes sense. Like you're slowly breaking, you're crumbling the defense, right? And the more we keep hitting it like this, like here, right? That means like the next time we go hit it, technically the wall is weaker, or the ceiling, I guess, if you will, is weaker, and then it'll be easier to break through in theory. Obviously, it's the market. Don't take anything for granted. Anything can happen, but that's kind of the idea. So the reason I bring that up is because if we from here bounce and we just come up once again to 250, let's say next week as an example, like sometime early next week even. in my opinion, if that actually does happen and we go to 250 early-ish next week, like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, there's a damn decent chance that we break through. Like there really is a good chance we break through this, break above 250, hold ideally, right? Close and then hold. And then I think ultimately we'll come up to the 260s, like 260s-ish range, which is going to be extremely crucial. Like I said many times, if we zoom out, we have the red line and the blue line intersecting, which again, that can potentially happen like December 8th roughly, right? And if that does happen, it'll take us close to 270, which is going to be probably even more important than breaking out of this bull flag, because it's two things. Number one, it's a retest of this overall massive channel we broke down from, which is of course the blue line, which was the bottom part of the channel that we did break down from. But it's also going to be a massive retest of the overall the final boss resistance, which is this red line here, right, if you will, because that is from all-time highs, constant resistance, and this is going to be like the line and the resistance of all resistances for Tesla to break in order to turn the overall trend long-term, medium to long-term, into a bullish trend. Technically speaking, right now we are in a medium-ish to slightly longer-ish, I would say medium-term, like a couple of years bearish trend, right? Because technically we're setting lower highs each time, right? This is the lower high line right here, this red line, right? Every single time we come up to it, technically we're setting lower highs, right? So, and technically we're even setting lower lows. So breaking this pattern will be crucial to truly break this downtrend and to truly turn the trend back into a bullish aspect, or into a bullish trend. That's going to be the most important thing from the bullish perspective. Now, that's kind of the idea of the bullish perspective, right? We'll have to see how the market reacts tomorrow. The bearish perspective and the bearish, I don't know, I guess a thesis, if you will, is going to be pretty simple as well. Honestly, number one, you want to break down below this bullish pennant. You want this resistance to fail, or support rather to fail, and you want to break down below it, and you want this retest to be unsuccessful. That's number one. That's step number one. It's not the most craziest thing ever, right? But at the very least, the bears want to break down below that. Second, of course, losing the 21 EMA, right? Sitting around 233.5. That's step number two. Step number three, and this is where things start, the bearish thesis really starts getting momentum and strength, in my opinion, is breaking below about 230, because that is not only going to be just an important level that I don't want to lose as it's just a technical support level, right? I don't want to close a daily candle below 230, because that's below the 21 EMA. That's below just a very nice resistance, or support rather in this case. That'll be bad, right? But that's also going to be starting to risk putting in a lower low, essentially, right? And like I said, putting in a lower low then risks putting in a lower high. And especially if we start putting in a lower high, then the trend has officially reversed. But a lower low is a pretty big step towards that. And you really want to ideally avoid setting a lower low. And that, in my opinion, has happened, or it's set essentially if we ever close a daily candle, or even really go just below, really like anywhere between 230 to 225, like that is the most important level for the bears to like destroy and like go below, and the bulls to like really defend, because that is where like it's really on thin ice, man. Super thin ice if we get to that level. Ideally, as a bull, I don't even want to risk that, because it does get very risky there from both perspectives, because that's like do or die. Ideally, as a bull, I wanted to hold this 240 to 238 level and bounce and move up. That's the ideal scenario. So we'll see. But those are the main levels I'll be looking at, and those are the main levels I'll be looking for, for it to crack for the bullish and the bearish perspective, and for those aspects as well. So that's kind of the main thing I'm looking at, right? Don't forget, we also have the volume profile, which so far we are getting resisted by this super high increase in volume up here. We ended up testing it yesterday, but hopefully this 240 level holds, because the volume below that, of course, gets much lower. It'll probably snap back down pretty aggressively, and I don't want to see that. So hopefully we hold this 240 to 238 level. That is the ideal scenario for me from the bullish perspective. So take that for what it's worth. The squeeze indicator most likely is still showing a red circle. It absolutely is. So momentum is still building. The next move should be a very large move on the weekly. So that's going to be something to definitely watch out for. And the final thing we'll take a quick peek at is, of course, going to be the options flow. So far looking very mixed, honestly. Let's go ahead and increase the premium to over 100K. And right now you can see there's a lot of mixed signals here, but it definitely looks more bullish than bearish. We have a nice 600K print here, very safe, 300 call all the way in January 2026. We have an 800K premium here. 40, does that say 40? I think it says 40 calls. I think we talked about this one yesterday, the super duper safe one. 40 calls January 2025, just unbelievably safe. And then here, very short term, we have a lot of calls coming in for December 15th, 245 calls, 265 calls, right? 500K premium, 200K premium, definitely a lot more green than red from what I'm seeing here. So take that for what it's worth. It does seem like the bulls are betting for more upside from here. And again, if we do break above this bull flag, which is again around that very low 250s, that's a good start for the bulls, man. That's a really damn good start for the bulls. It's looking pretty good. So that's kind of what I'm looking at. December is technically a bullish month for Tesla for seasonality. So you can see this is the final bar over here. This one down here, 54%. So it's not a bad month for Tesla. It's technically more positive than negative. So we'll see. A lot of stuff coming, a lot of important decisions to be made by the stock very, very soon. So hopefully it goes in favor for the bulls as a bull myself. But obviously I'm prepared for the bearish side if it, of course, does happen. But all in all, that's it for this video, guys. Thanks for watching. And of course, as usual, I'll see you tomorrow. Peace.